Okay. Okay. All right, here we go.
Since moving to Taos, New Mexico last year, I've been documenting the construction of an Earthship Tiny House. I'm happy to announce that we've finished the job, and with the new owners moving in soon, it's time to say goodbye. We've packed up our tools and for the first time get to take a walkthrough of the finished product that we've just created. Check it out.
All right, here we are. February, late in the month. I've already extended the closing date at least 3 times, but we're finally at that. I don't know, maybe we're completed roughly today. We still have a couple more inspections that I'm waiting on, the mechanical, the top out plumbing, and then a certificate of occupancy. But me and my crew are pretty much wrapped up. So today we're going to do a walkthrough. We're going to explain where we are with systems, and just to give you a feel of what the space is, now that we've got like all the tools out of the way, all the chemicals, all that stuff, all the building materials are kind of out of the house. So really for the first time since I started building in middle of, well, probably early August, when I started pounding my first tire, you don't really get a good spatial awareness until today. You know, with the doors closed, the skylights closed, all the glass is in, you know, all the appliances are in place. So now you got a really good vibe for the square footage of the space. And then what's fun about this is that we get an opportunity to sort of see how you would furnish it. You know, how would you live in this space? This is what I want to kind of cover today as well, okay? So right now we're just going to kind of come on in. You can see the colors are on. You have to have all the colors. It was really tough because of the time of the year, cold nights. We had to really mess with the recipes. It's not ideal, but you cannot close on a property unless the walls are colored. They can give you a temporary CO with it, but I didn't want to go temporary. I wanted to finish it. Now the owners, if I have to do something in the spring, that's fine, I'll do it. But for now, we're going to try to turn the keys over here as soon as possible, and this was required. First thing I want to point out is the oversized door. This is a custom-made entry door. The reason why I did this is because I'm hoping that the homeowners are going to really focus on food production. It's really important that they do vertical food production with bucket growth. There's so many things that can grow in front of these windows. And then the interior gray water botanical cell will do the succulents for treating the gray water for the toilet flush, providing humidity for the interior space, controlling the climate temperature-wise. So that still does its Earthship thing, but I really am hoping that they're going to take advantage of the reason why I did this is so you can get a wheelbarrow in and out, and you can utilize this more as a greenhouse space rather than a 3.0 entry door, 36-inch entry doors. Come on in. Now that all of the systems are completed, we're still waiting on a water delivery because we used all the water up for construction, including any snow melt that we got. So that was great. We didn't have to buy water to build the building with, which this time of the year actually benefited us. It hurt us in some ways, but in that case, that was a good thing. So the system is ready. The reception cell, which we covered in previous videos, as soon as the shower gets turned on, and the kitchen sink and all that, and the laundry, all that water is going to go here. It's filtered. Gravity feeds down to the other end, ready for recirculating and flushing. Okay, and we'll cover that in a second. We set the washer and dryer in today. This is an LNG, which we converted to LPG yesterday. So we have a little conversion kit that we installed on it. So the gas company will come in. They'll pressure test all of the appliances. That's all kind of determines what regulator that we installed. I already told them what was going to be in the building. The on-demand hot water heater is propane. The dryer is propane. The stove is propane. I elected to do a DC refrigerator. Sometimes that can be propane. So you have to let the propane company know how many appliances are going to be gas. So they know how to pressurize the system, what regulators to use. So this way you don't burp your system and have back pressure if you've got, too many appliances trying to pull gas, okay? So it's sized accordingly. Washing machine set up to run water into the gray water botanical cell. The on-demand is ready to provide hot water. to the washing machine as well as the fixtures. So the systems are in and moments away from pumping blood into the veins and utilizing its utilities, which is really exciting. This is like my favorite part, of course, is to actually hear things working. The building coming to life. It's breathing now. What we have been putting together now. So this is a big thing. All this happening here and that as well. Let's cover the skylights real quick while we're here. Sailboat rope. This is 1/2-inch braid. Same thing you'd find on any sailboat anywhere in the world. Super accessible, including the cleat. Just simple boat cleat that holds the ropes. And then if you look up into the skylight, so what you see is you've got your sailboat rope inside of the cam cleat, C-A-M cleat, cam cleat. And then there's a rope guide just above that, and then a stop knot that goes through the ice screw. So you can see what's involved to have a mechanical system. Something that's, electronic, automated, things like that. This is mechanical or passive. And that's what we have right now. So the skylight's pretty beefy because the weather out here gets really intense. The wind can kick around 80 miles an hour, no problem. So we want to make sure this thing is secured to the roof. So I have to wrap my hands around. I pull this cleat free, pull this cleat free, and then she just opens up nice and easy. As long as the previous footage explained the importance of a good rocker arm. So it's just the extension of the frame of the lid. And then we fill that basket up with rocks, bricks, cement, pretty much anything that's going to adjust for that perfect balance of weight. You don't want to get super crazy with a lot of weight because it'll just snap wide open. Okay, so same thing. Good grip. Feed it into the cleat. Feed it into the cleat. Sometimes, like I'll either do a crisscross to pull them into the cleat, or I'll take them like this and pull them into the cleat. That way it's down tight. So tonight the temperatures are going to be maybe about 18 to 20. So I want to make sure those curve fit seals, those weather strips, are pulled down tight so we don't get a cold air draft. If you're not careful and you're just like, oh yeah, it's good enough, whatever, well, you got multiple problems. This is really important that you understand why these skylights have to pull down tight. If a cold air draft is underneath the weather strip, then that heavy, cold, dense air is going to come down into the planter and it's going to kill your plants. It will literally freeze them. Second problem, if those skylights are even cracked, moisture will build up at the in between where there's like heat trying to get up there, but then you've got this air gap that's creating that, it'll freeze and that'll pull on the weather strip and it'll keep the lid from closing. So it's really important that you understand what the weather's doing and how you operate these things. All right, so we're kind of moving over to this side of the planter. We got our paver stones in. We got our, organic topsoil. There's going to be, soil is a little bit low. And the purpose for that is that when you bring in your banana trees or whatever they're going to plant here in terms of succulent plants, it's going to have a bulb on it. And that's going to have soil already there. So instead of filling it up full, now I'm going to have a surplus of soil if I don't leave it a little bit low. Another thing I want to point out is these are only for construction. We actually have really good handmade blinds being custom made for each window in this building, including the door. So right now, because it's kind of an overcast day, it's the end of the day, we have a 3-day storm coming, I would shut the blinds. I would already have them down to trap the heat that I've actually got from some sunlight that I had today. But, really I'm just relying on a little bit of the natural light, but there's really no more warmth. There's absolutely no solar gain coming into the building at this point. So this is where the blinds would come down. They would all be closed at this point of the day, 4:45, 5 o'clock here in the end of February. But if you're real slick, once you're living in it, you only close a couple of the blinds that are shadowed on the PDR. That way you're not letting any temperature transfer down on that end of the greenhouse because the heat automatically wants to go to the cold area. So we want to make sure that we're sort of regulating. You can automate that too with a computer and all the mechanisms that you need to close your blinds automatically. Has little temperature sensors that are built into the window boxes. It's really pricey, but if you got a bunch of money and you're not home, by the time the sun sets, it's not bad it's a good investment actually. All right, so down here we're not quite finished with it yet. We got our submersible 24 volt pump already set up inside. We got our plug, we got our DC plug back here, ready to go in. All I got to do is tie in the last little bit of plumbing, and I'm ready to start flushing my toilet. It's important that when you build a brand new Earthship to know that you have to charge your systems. You have to charge your batteries. You have to charge your gray water cell with water so you can start the process. You have to charge the mass of the building, your trom wall, your stem wall, your concrete slabs, your bottle wall. You need to charge the mass. We've had the door open every day during construction. So it's going to take probably several weeks of regulating the way the building is charged. Once the mass is fully charged with a temperature, now you can have that little sweet spot. It might still drop to 58 degrees, 55 degrees even because, with the front door open during construction for the whole process, it's going to take time. But because the gray water cell is water, it's warm, it's underground, it's warm already just because of where it's stored. So that's going to release heat into the planter. And then with the assistance from the sun, those two things are going to come together, and then that heat goes through the single pane glass, through the door, through the transom, through the single hung window for the bathroom. So we want to push. We just want to blow all that heat into the space as quickly as we can so they balance. Because the greenhouse will go to 130, 40 degrees. But the main body of the house might only stay at like 62, 63. And that's not warm enough. That's not comfortable enough for the majority of humans. For me, I love it. If it never went over 60 degrees ever the rest of my life, I'd be thrilled. But most people want it at 70 degrees all day, not all night. I like it cool too at night. Most people sleep better at night. Anyway, that's my thing on charging the batteries, the gray water cell. The black water cell needs to be charged. Fortunately, the black water cell is charged. December, January, February, we've had plenty of moisture. We had, something like 20 some inches of snow on the last storm. That's a big storm for us. So that black water cell, I already checked the standpipe. It's ready. It's got water in it. So landscaping can happen. We can reclaim some scarred land now. So we have the WAM hooked up now finally. Took a little while, but we've got our water supply, which is right now currently just gravity feeding, goes in and up to this supply. This is turned off because we're waiting on a water delivery. We're going to try to get about 3,000 gallons of water delivered to the home. Same thing, I'm charging my cisterns. I don't have enough snow melt, and we used, like I said earlier, a lot of the water, if not all of the water, for construction. So fortunately, we didn't have to ship any in, which has been nice. All right, so you got your pre-filter here. You've got your 24-volt pump. I'm sorry, this is a 12-volt pump, 24-volt power source. So we put a step-down converter. So that means that if the house is producing 24 volts, but we have a 12-volt pump, I can invert that 24 to 12 so I can use the pump that I have. You can use a 24-volt pump, of course, but they're pricey and they're hard to get. 12-volt pumps are on every sailboat all over the earth. So that's why sailboat ropes, sailboat cam cleats, sailboat regular cleats, sailboat pumps, all of this stuff is Earthship. Hence the second half of the name of these buildings. We utilize the gray water just like you do on a ship. We use the renewable energies just like you do on a sailboat. So that's why all of these things are pretty standard and quite affordable. Then you have your domestic filter, which is a 500. This is going to clean up water Not for drinking, but brushing your teeth, showering, bathing, cooking, all of that. This is a 500. There's a difference between a mesh and a micron. So the micron is the 500, so that's how tiny the particle that can pass through. So that means that over every inch of screen, there's these precise holes that will block particulates, in some cases bacteria. These are not bacteria filters. The next one will be. The reason why I need to filter bacteria is because now I'm moving it for drinking. So in this Earthship, in this part of the planet, we don't worry about air pollution. We're at 7,000 feet above sea level. We're in the high mountains of northern New Mexico. We have like 2 planes that fly over every day, and it's Julia Roberts and Mr. Bacon that owns the ski resort. So no big deal. It's not like commercial jets flying and dumping fuel to level the weight. So the filtering unit that is built in this home is specific for this part of the planet. If I'm building in, I don't know, West Virginia, down the road from a coal burning power plant, well, you're probably going to fill the entire wall with what we call a WOM, a water organizing module. These filters would never work. It's a great pre-filter for rainwater, or even, there's a couple of different things. You can have a well, you can pump your water up from the aquifer, or you can have a surface water system. So you can direct water to underground tanks, kind of recirculate it, and then run it through something like this. That's fine. But if you're in an area that's got high pollution, a lot of air traffic, trains, planes, cars, and industry, well, we're talking about a whole different design that we can provide, but it's very expensive. But, what's your health worth? What's the health of your family worth? This is a crucial retrofit that I have taught when I was working with the Academy with Earthship Architecture. I really keyed in heavy on, really testing water, understand what it's like when it's coming in the house and what it's like when it's coming through the house. And then all the other water recycling systems that we do, which is 5. We use 5 water recycling systems on every Earthship. Pressure tank, really simple, 38 pounds per square inch. Good pressure for a small house like this. Maybe a bigger house, I don't know, 1,200 square feet and up. You might look at, 42 PSI or even more, because you got longer runs to push water. But the pressure tank came from the factory at 38 PSI. So we have a 30-50 pressure switch, all pretty standard. I'm not sure if we put it in yet. I don't see it. I see a pressure gauge right here, but we need a pressure switch installed somewhere on the line. And that's what's cool. It can be anywhere I want. So we still, like I said, there's a couple small things left to do on getting gray water, black water, all that stuff going on. Let's go ahead and move in. Okay, whew, feel the temperature difference there. Right now I want to cover the power system. So this house has 2,200 watts or 2.2 kilowatts of solar, 6 panels, 3 75s, I'm not sure, I haven't done the math, which is amazing. Because when I started doing this 17 years ago, my 17-year anniversary is March 1st, so about a week away. When I first started doing this in 2006, I paid $5 a watt. So 1,000 watts, 1 kilowatt cost me almost $5,000. I have 2.2 kilowatts of solar on the roof, and I want to say I spend probably about 65 cents a watt, 75 cents a watt. So I haven't done the math, but 2,200 times 0.75 is what I paid. Amazing. It's amazing. It's just so cheap compared to what it was when I started my career. So what you have is, this is a plug and play unit. We used to build them independent. We'd have an inverter, we'd have a charge controller, we'd have a low voltage disconnect, we have the mate, so you can program back in the day, we couldn't program it from our smartphone or laptop. Now everything is all synced up. So if I'm traveling and I get an alert from my system, I can adjust it to protect my batteries. That's all I care about. I just don't want my batteries to get destroyed when you're away. So the power system's all hooked up. We've been now working with solar power instead of generators. Thank goodness for that. Just the noise pollution, the air pollution, the cost of oil and fuel, ripcords, just maintenance is a disaster. Now it's maintenance free, we're good. We have our batteries down here, okay? So the batteries here are, I wouldn't say like cutting edge, super high tech, but these are AGM batteries. These are sealed gels. This is great. No distilled water, no service kit like we had back in the day. You'd have to have a turkey baster, funnels, gallons of distilled water. You'd have to have anti-corrosive salves for the terminals because you have two metals that are producing electricity, which is fantastic, but they hate each other. So they basically eat at each other just like your car battery does. So as that disintegrates, that acid just builds up. That's all toxic. None of that's good for anybody. And the other thing is you can never have them. I shouldn't say you can't have them in a house, but there's a lot more involved if you want to keep your batteries in a warm space like I have. You have to have special ventilation tubes to let the hydrogen gas release out of the building. Here we don't have that. It's sealed. There's no off gas, no maintenance. Fabulous. The downside, there's two of them, really expensive. You're looking at roughly, compared to a Deca lead acid battery, 6-volt battery would cost you $250 wholesale, maybe a little less, maybe a little more retail. These are almost $600. And who knows, tomorrow they might be, I don't know, $1,000 just because everything's ridiculous. But I don't want to get on that kick. I've already been arguing with every supplier I've been dealing with. They don't want to hear it either. So we have 4 AGM batteries. They are set up, and you have to know the difference between like series and parallel. Because it's 24 volts, we have to wire them all together. So 6 times 4 is 24. We have it set up as a combined unit, whereas some people might add a second battery bank. If you've got a lot of draw and you need a lot of storage, you might parallel and series a twin bank system. 704 square feet. This is more than enough power. We're floating at 9:30 in the morning at the end of February. Unless they come in and plug in a bunch of hair dryers and microwaves and some crazy heating element, it just zaps them. This thing is more than power you'll ever need in a super efficient eco green home like we have. LED lights, top of the line, state of the art pumps, whatever's available at this point. So that's everything. We got, back in the day, this would be a DC panel. This would be an AC panel. Now, this is an AC panel. This is a DC panel. Inverters are super efficient now. Lighting super efficient. Even pumps, appliances, all that. So most people nowadays that are building off grid are doing pretty much only AC breakers. I still have a few DC breakers. I like it for my refrigerator. I like it for my toilet, because those are two things that if your inverter fails, you don't want to be without. Your food's going to rot and you're going to be pooping in a bucket, and that sucks for both. So I make sure that no matter what happens with my AC electricity, even without lights and certain things, certain fixtures, like maybe even my hot water heater, that runs on AC for the igniter now, which also is a bummer. That's a new code requirement. And then, again, I wouldn't be able to flush my toilet. I wouldn't be able to protect my food source. If this is June or July and it's 95 degrees outside and I lose AC electricity, I'm a dead stick. But because I use DC still, which the electricians hate me, they don't like running the wires. It's just, it's a little thicker and a little harder to work with. I don't care. You're going to put it in because that's what I paid you to do. So that's basically what's happening pretty much in a nutshell right there. This here, again, this evolved. If everything is on, it should turn on. So there you go. Now the other side, because it's late February and we have a storm coming in, it's still insulated. It's all closed up with an insulation door, insulation kind of put into the tube. But right now, it's just creating that active air passage or air filtering. Typically, this is passive. So normally, this would just be a screen, two screens, and you would just open up the door and the back door, and then you just come on over here, and you just grab this little rope, and you open up your transom window. Okay? So both ends are open. This is pre-fan HEPA, and it was all passive. So the air just kind of pulls up, and then when you open up your two skylights, it just, and the reason it can do is for very good reason. That greenhouse has been charging all day, every day. So that heat is all out in that greenhouse, and it wants to escape. So the minute I open up those skylights, that heat just pulls up out. While at that same time, it just goes, hey, come on along here with me. And it draws all that air down through the tube, through the transom, up through there. But because of the fire smoke and climate change and man's assault on the environment, I had to evolve it. I didn't want just air coming into the house if it's polluted. So I had to redesign this whole thing to address every single summer. It seems like we're dealing with more and more smoke. So that's all of what's going on. We have footage of the way I made the tubes, special welding, weep holes in case there's condensation builds up inside of it, and it wicks down into the French drain. And so all of that is kind of, also happening. So I put a lot of time and energy into designing this whole air filtering design based on stuff we've been doing for decades. Let me think. We started doing cooling tubes, not decades, maybe like 15 years ago, a couple years after I came here. Now we're going to back up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just go through the user-friendly aspects of off-grid housing. I don't know. People think that we rough it. We struggle. Yeah, pooping in a bucket is one. I don't know. We're exclusively just hunting and gathering. I mean, I want for nothing. When I build this house, it's with all the creature comforts that everybody has that's on the grid. But the difference between what I have and they have is they have a whole bunch of utilities and a life support system that maintains that. My home takes care of me no matter what. So yeah, I pay more money up front to build it at today's cost, but in the long run, it just gets cheaper and cheaper every day I'm living here. So as I take you through the home, you'll see that, okay? So we're gonna start in the kitchen. We're gonna start with my stove. This is LPG. I have a large underground propane tank. So this is gas, my dryer, and the on-demand. I figure I have about a year of propane. So what you want to do is you want to buy it when it's cheap. Usually it's in the summertime, and you're carried all the way through the winter. If there's a price hike, it doesn't matter. If there's a problem, I don't know, an interruption in the system, then we're okay. And we do have some backup things that we do, maybe portable bottles, or maybe you have a couple propane tanks, or you got a lot of money and you want a 500-gallon propane tank. I have a 250 gallons of propane. That's plenty. Unless I'm heating my house with my oven, which I will confess I have done that a couple times. Open up the oven, throw a little heat in there because it's been cloudy for 4 days, 5 days. That's rare in Taos, but this is a commercial grade, unique brand LPG stove. Great cooker, fantastic. copper counters. I put the copper counter in because it is the only metal that does not develop a bacteria. Okay, it's the safest cleaning or cooking food prep surface area there is. There's a million options with counters, but in terms of like safety for food production, because now during the pandemic, which we're 2 years into it, I don't even know you say we're during or in it anymore. I don't know what it is, but right now people are cooking at home a lot. So I wanted to make sure that this space is very user friendly because we're making 21 meals a week. The last time I checked, that was all of them. Kind of a bummer. I like eating out. I like hanging out with my friends, but I built this house for end of days. Like you have everything you need here. This is set up for it's a cast iron um, sink, which is great because it's a mass, which is really important. Well, I can't wait till they get some plants and furniture in here. This echo is driving me crazy. But when you fill this up with water, what it does is the temperature transfers to the mass. Okay, again, that hot goes to cold. So right now I can feel how cold this thing is. It's going to be the same as the bathtub. So when you fill it up with water, once the cast iron is charged, like I said, whether it's the kitchen sink or the bathtub, it stabilizes. It'll equalize, which means you don't have to introduce any energy from your on-demand hot water heater to heat up your water. So once the sink is charged and your water's warm, I'm not going to say at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning you're going to have nice warm water, but you're probably going to have, cool, won't be cold, which is part of the design process of this. Drinking spigot, which will bring you top of the line potable water. This is not pasta water. You can use it for your pasta. You can use it for washing your vegetables, which is a very important thing. Even with local, if you're supporting local farmers and local greenhouses and all that, this thing is really crucial to have here at the kitchen sink. This encourages people to really thoroughly cleanse your vegetation. Lots of upper kitchen cabinets, this is all custom handmade, all, really well high crafted drawers, all slightly larger as you go down for, because again, it's the Tiny Plus. I built the Tiny in 16, 17, and it was a couple hundred square feet smaller. And let me tell you, you really appreciate nice drawers when you really don't have a lot of space in other areas of the building. So, nice deep drawer underneath here, really important. Yeah, people store skillets in their stove, but that's not really ideal. So yeah, I put time and money and energy into really building a user-friendly kitchen, as you can see. Then under here, I didn't realize. So you just have your standard plumbing, drains for both bowls, your trap, your 3 water sources, hot, cold, and drinking, all good to go. Your sprayer, pretty standard. More drawer space. And then we get over to here, and I built this drawer without the refrigerator, and that probably wasn't the smartest thing. There's things that I just like, I'm only 5'7". That's if my back isn't like crunched. So this is going to be a little tricky. Oh, it's still taped closed. There we go. So I'm going to have a little trouble. Where's my little stool? Or, can somebody lift me up? So the people that own this house are, I think, about the same height or maybe a little taller. They might be okay with it. If they're not, then what I'm going to do is my big chip drawer. Again, I'm a big fan of the chip drawer because I love my snacks. It's a big thing for me, especially this time of the year. I love it. So I made plenty of space right there for storage. But what I might do, I might take the kick off. I might take the lift off. That'll drop it 3.5 inches. So that'll bring it down, quite a bit. So I'm going to talk to them, see what they want to do. This is a false cabinet. This is ultimately going to be a big spice on casters, drawer setup. So this is going to be really slick. This is going to house a lot of seasons, a lot of spices. It's going to be really, really nice. Eventually, there's going to be some storage cabinet, food pantry. It's all going to get built into here. As we move around the room, we have our ventilation tubes with our built-in fans. And this is something I evolved on this project with HEPA filters. So I can activate my fan, draw air through 30 feet of tubes that go underground, not in the berm. And that's going to also have a filter on the other end, but that's a natural filter with willow plants. So I'm going to, this past summer, we had a lot of fire smoke kind of come down into the valley. And for 3 weeks, I couldn't talk. And we might even have some footage of like how raspy I was earlier in this build process. So we got the HEPA filters in, we got the fans in. These are cheap, these are Amazon 10 by 10s. We're going to upgrade to computer fans or car radiator fans so I can direct the air both ways. For right now, it's where I'll show you on the other one. Recycled drawers. These drawers came from another project that I worked on years ago. This here is for some clothes to hang. You got your Murphy bed.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So what I did with the Murphy bed is I set it up with a few extra user-friendly items with the idea of evolving it even further. So I figured, 2 people sleeping in the bed, they have a way of charging their cell phone or their Kindle or whatever they're using. So it's got 2 AC plugs and 2 USBs. Also has a little LED ribbon light that's not directly in their face. So we put like a little angle trim to just project the lighting back to the back of the blonde. So at night, this really glows. It's really nice. This has the ability to, as I said, evolve into some other things. We thought about building in some small shelves for your coffee, little coffee station. The other idea I have is to build like a little center console, like a car armrest console for your cup holders, maybe even a little storage in it. Sky's the limit. Tiny home builders, they drool over this kind of craziness. Me, I'm just trying to finish the thing. But this can add on. This here is also another false panel. Up here is AC and DC plus the ballast for the lighting. So this panel can come off. It's all trimmed out. There'll be an LED television projector that goes in here. There'll be a little caddy for a remote that brings down an automatic screen with a good throw resolution. This is about 12 to 14 feet. So it'll just come down from the ceiling. So you can lie in bed, and that way everything is put away, tucked away, and keep the space open. I don't want to build furniture just to house a TV that's watched. I haven't had a television since 1999. So like, it's no big deal. I think most people are watching any documentaries or programs on laptops nowadays. But this is all wired and prepped up for it. So that should kind of give you an idea. This is the first time we've done this. Of course, I'm going to evolve. There's 2 things I want to evolve with this. I want to build drawers into the side of the bed. So then you could put sheets, blankets, a little different design here. The other thing I want to do is I want to build in a couch as well. And there'll be like a little Tempur-Pedic mat. You have a couple cushions that are on your little bonko, and it just kind of doubles up. So you can just pull this out, and you can just kind of sit here, hit your remote, and watch your TV or, just more utilitarian process. Same thing, more storage. Let's cover the barn doors. All right, so my original plan for the systems room and the bathroom was to have pocket doors. But my carpenter came to me and he said, hey, look, if we build these pocket doors and there's ever a problem and it jumps off the track, how are you going to maintain it? Well, I've done them in the past, never heard of anybody having a problem with it, but he got me thinking. It's like, okay, well, this is actually cooler because you see more of the door. So it's all Earthship, handmade, super heavy, super strong. But that becomes problematic when it comes to conventional hardware that you just buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. So what we did was we went with the soft closer barn door hardware that you get normally with a conventional door, which weighs, I don't know, probably a third of the weight of this door. You know, it takes two guys to lift this thing off, put it on the horses, and make the adjustments. So it's set up right now. It's got a guide, it's got its rollers, and then it's got its little soft closer on it, which kind of closes the door. But again, the doors are really heavy, so she does struggle a little bit. But that's kind of what we're going with. So the good news about it is that it's got no maintenance because it's not built into the wall like I normally would do. All right, so let's take you into the bathroom. We're not quite finished with the bathroom yet. We're close. I worked here till almost 11 o'clock last night under the fortunately solar powered batteries, which was great. So I was able to work for the first time really well into the evening, where it wasn't just the generator with lamps or my headlights on my truck. So it was pretty good. So what I did here is I did a white, it's still drying. I did a white Portland. The reason why I wanted to go with a white Portland is because it's waterproof, it's indestructible, it's light, it's mass. So there's a lot of good reasons to do it, but there's a million options you can do. Obviously, most people do tile. I've done like exterior elastomeric paints. So you do like a primer and then whatever color you want. It's harder and harder to get it. You know, it used to be easy where you could just go to Ace, to the paint center, get a mix, a recipe. They could dye it. I don't know. Somehow it's just been more difficult. White Portland, it's just easy. It's done. We added some shelving for soap dishes. I'm going to put the shower body and the shower head on. This will be another caddy here, so you'll be able to add a few more things here. So the toilet is pretty much ready. It's set up for two water sources, gray water and fresh water. This toilet will be flushing exclusively on gray water. And the only way to do that is you have to, the homeowner would do it only on gray water. If it's an Airbnb, they're probably going to leave it on fresh water. They're going to spend money on fresh water delivery, which is unfortunate, but there's a little bit of maintenance involved with gray water flush. It stains the toilet. You have to clean the filter. You have to make sure you have enough water level, not just for flushing your toilet, but so your plants don't starve. If the water level drops too low, then the roots don't have anything to work on, then you're top watering. So there's a very careful balance with using the toilet. Typically, in the wintertime, you can stay on fresh water. The rest of the year, you're on gray water. And then monsoon season, which is typically pretty short. If you have a surplus of water, your water tanks are overflowing down the hill, go ahead and switch back over to fresh water. So you'll be switching the water supply line back and forth depending on what's going on with the environment and the water. So we're in the little shower stall. We're going to eventually close this up. I would like to put in like a glass panel here and like a glass door right here so natural light can still come into the rest of the bathroom. So you can see what you're doing shaving when it's a daylight rather than just using all the lights. We're going to seal the floors, seal the slab. We have a 8-foot storage cabinet here, which is great. They're nice and deep, so they'll be able to put towels, even bedding will have to go in here as well. So it's, you know, it's a good adjustment to the space. The original design was just a big cast iron tub and glass over here, and then cabinets were going to go on this side. But the homeowner decided they wanted this instead, so that's what we got. All right, so I think that pretty much concludes the use of the house and where the systems are. So yeah.
All right, everybody, that's it for this video. But if this is the kind of thing that you're into, if this gets you inspired, then be sure to subscribe to the Off-Grid Guru, where there is a constant stream of inspiring content like this waiting for you.